And we'll get started here with our October 3rd quarterly, bi-monthly, thank you, board meeting. And I believe we have a quorum of 5 out of our 9, so we should be good to go with this, and hopefully the rest will join us if and when they can. John, you had put together before you left an agenda for today, sorry. And I'm just pulling it up on my screen here. Did everyone have a chance to get that agenda?
Is it the one that's still labeled draft?
Yeah, but we sent out a new one on Friday. I don't know if it was unlabeled draft or not. In our flurry, we had a long meeting on Friday to try to get the grant off on time. So we frantically went through the draft for the board meeting at that time and probably had some edits that we should have made, didn't make, but here we are.
Hey, Diane is almost here.
The version of the agenda that I have does not say draft. You
Okay.
did it.
So I think we got that changed then, which is good.
Can I ask where that's at?
It came via an email on Friday,
Oh.
Let me see
an
if we,
invite that went out to the board.
With your email?
It would have, I gotta think here. Let me just see.
Yep, never mind. I got it.
Okay,
What
did
happens when you only look at your phone and not at real email?
Oh, there you go. Good.
Got it. We're good.
John, I apologize. I'm still trying to find, I have so many things open up on my desk here, but all right, here we go. Got it. Well, we started the recording, brief welcome introductions. Why don't we quick go through? I'm Scott Olson, co-president of CLASS, also community transportation coordinator for New Tracks. John?
John Slade, other co-president, the East Metro organizer for the Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing, also known as MICA.
Pick someone.
Michelle. And then after that, Katie Everett. Michelle's still on mute.
Sorry, I was having personal technical difficulties. Michelle Hubbard, White Bear Lake Community Service and Recreations. I'm the adult programmer and I'm also the treasurer of this group.
Katie and then Allie.
I am the recreation supervisor for the city of Venice Heights and board member.
I am Allie Lucan and I am the Recreation Activity Center coordinator for the Rookery in Lino Lakes, and I am a board member.
Christine, then Julia.
Chris Sundberg with Elder Boys Family Advocates.
Julia, then Diane.
Julia Wolf, having lots of technical problems here, but so if I'll try to turn off my camera if I'm moving around too much, but I lead the Healthy Aging Initiative at St. Paul Ramsey County Public Health.
Diane Graham Raff.
Hi, Diane Graham Raff from Trellis, the area agency on aging. I'm going to keep my camera off. Well, actually, it's either that or you get a black screen and I have to restart my computer. So yeah, you don't get to see.
Grand. All right, Scott, your co-president executive team report.
The last lunch and learn that we had was for, no, wait, lunch and learn, John? Yeah, lunch and learn. And I think you're always getting confused with networking. Was a transportation, and I was riding live on our automated vehicle that is being operated by New Tracks. So we've got that uploaded to our websites. We had roughly about a half hour that was done on that part live. And before I went on camera for that, we had a gentleman from Metro Mobility that was sharing information and details about transportation via Metro Mobility and Transit Link. And I think he, John, did he not talk for, it was about 40 minutes of information, 35. We had about 15, 20 minutes of the ride, and then we had a little Q&A after that. So there is a video that went with the transportation part of it. And feel free, if you haven't already taken a look at that, Kate has got that uploaded to our website. We had an opportunity to share a little bit about that transportation with the vehicle, automated vehicle, where it was, again, showing live, and had a chance to point out some of the things on the vehicle and the way that it was operating, and showed us going through an intersection, showed us stopping at the YMCA and a number of the other stops. So hopefully it turned out okay. We think it was a pretty good lunch and learn. Low attended, but again, we're learning lessons as we go. We don't have enough. I'm going to say this as cautiously as I can. We have not had enough board members that have been willing to step up to help with some of the communication parts. I don't mean to have this sound terse here, but a lot of times we've got a lot of things juggling by 2 or 3 of us. Some things have fallen through the cracks. So we did not get as much information that was sent out leading up to this lunch and learn. And we're going to make that different on our subsequent lunch and learns and the final networking event that we have in November. So that said, part of our discussion towards the end of the meeting will be just about that, some different roles that can be played and responsibilities that can help us have better and growing turnout for these events. But all in all, the transportation lunch and learn, I think, was fine. John, your thoughts?
I was really pleased by how well, because we had originally thought it could be hybrid with people being there. And what we did have was the remote of Scott being in the vehicle, moving around, which I think worked really well. We didn't have enough folks that had said, yes, we want hybrid, or we want to actually physically go to anywhere. So towards the last couple of days, we said, okay, we're going to shift once again to totally virtual. And so, pluses on the technicals of having it be from the vehicle. I think that worked really well. So anything else on that event? Any feedback from folks?
I thought it was really fun to watch. No offense. I mean, Scott, you did a nice job pretending like you were all of us inside the vehicle and sharing how it works. So
Thank you. Anyone else have a chance to view it once it was uploaded? Okay. Report on the grant applications. We got the grant in on time last Friday for the Greater White Bear Lake Community Foundation. We will see how it turns out. All we can do is the best we can do, and it did get sent in and it made the deadline. We were asking for 2,000, and I think in the past, the amount that we had, not last year, but the previous year, we had asked for 3,000 and got 1,500. We don't have enough of a budget to be able to ask for those large amounts, because we will inevitably get turned down, because more of it looks like operational funds that we're asking for. So we wanted to have a nice in between, so we had a shot at getting something.
what can I ask what we specified we were going to spend the money on?
This was going to further and continue our online type of programs with the lunch and learns, our networking, uploading the videos, being a little bit more of a technology base, since we're not meeting live and we're not
Sure.
putting on live programs.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
I had, before I left, I'd sketched out a draft that really specifically focused on the time it takes to edit video. Since that is, if you're doing really good, it's 2 hours per hour. Much more typical is 3 or 4 hours of prep time for an hour.
Right.
And that's just basically, live, making things live, doing actual videos, like highly edited videos, it's an even larger percentage. But we wanted to say, okay, what's actually new going on, and make it seem a little more programmy instead of just general oppy. So that's what I remember.
And what we can do is, we can provide a copy of the narrative that we put together with that for everybody. What we added to that, John, is we really tried to call on the heartstrings of the foundation to talk about how deep we are with all of our senior service providers, and it being more than just doing programs, but adding as to how we as an organization can help support and have the type of events that recognize the battles that service providers have been going through in this senior area of work. And to not just take it lightly, but to talk about how we are there for support. We're losing so many people within the industry that have said, they've thrown their hands up and said, I'm done. And we feel that our programs, not only the money to go to sustain the technology piece of it, but what we do on these programs, the breakout sessions, the ability to have an understanding of what's going on within the field of senior service providers. We added that narrative to the grant.
Brand.
And that's it for me on that, John, unless anyone has some more questions.
I guess not a question here. I haven't forgotten about, the suggestion that maybe Elder Voice and class could jointly go for a grant. But I'm struggling with finding a good pathway for us to do that. Since we're statewide and you're very geographically focused, so it's, I just wanted to tell you, I haven't forgotten it, and I still will keep it on my radar, but it's hard to come up with something that makes sense for you and makes sense for us and the funder foundation. Unless I'm missing some logic here, tell me.
Well, Chris, I would ask you, when you had first suggested maybe what that opportunity would look like, we just kind of followed your lead. So
Yeah,
maybe you can share with us what you thought maybe those intentions were at that time.
well, there are quite a few foundations that are just focused on the East Metro. But even at that, though, their footprint is usually Washington, Ramsey counties, and then, until we, we're seen as a White Bear Lake based, and yeah, I'm just, it plus of it also, it's just, for me, how do I piece it out, for how it fits in with our whole organization. Guess I'm kind of trying to tell you, I think it was a ill-conceived idea to begin with, and good intentions, but the reality of it is just proving more difficult to me.
And I think, just for clarity, Chris, 10 years ago, we were really just a White Bear based. We have gone to becoming a Northeast Metro and even beyond. We have service providers even outside of that. So we are serving Ramsey, Washington County, even into an Anoka County, as we grow with some of our different senior service provider representatives. So I think I just, for the record, point that out, that the growth of class has become much more than just White Bear Lake.
When yeah, okay, and that's for the senior providers, and that's the other difference too. I guess I'm not sure. Oh boy, I'm gonna be pretty blunt here, I guess, but I don't know if it makes sense for Elder Voice to be a part of this. I really believe in what class is doing. I like the approach and all of that. We're much more focused, well, we're exclusively focused on the residents, not the care providers, whereas your focus is on the care providers. And we're, you know, that puts us sometimes, I wish it weren't this way, but that's the reality. It puts us at odds with each other. And so I'm, you know, just trying to be realistic about that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, when I asked the question, it wasn't trying to pinpoint you. It was
No, no.
honestly trying to understand what your original intentions were, because I wasn't certain and would love to understand if it could work, because if we're not getting grants and we're not growing membership as we struggle through COVID times here, class may not exist in another year or two. I'm just being flat out honest. If we don't have that support financially to do that.
Well, and you might want to ask your providers if leading age or care providers would be a source of funding for you. I have no idea. I'm just blindly saying that. But
Although,
Chris, oh, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Chris, did you have any more?
no, I just, since that's their focus and that's kind of your focus, that might be an avenue for you to get funds, but maybe not. I don't know.
And
Well-
Chris, I'm just gonna say before you go, John, when you keep saying you, well, you are a part of us. You are a part of class, so it's not a we versus they, you separated from us currently. You are a board member with us, so
Right.
And when I look at the board members that we've got here, I've always felt that Micah and Elder Voice are closer together since we're trying to change often systems which might be a specific provider or a governmental unit. But we're also really interested in raising up voice and doing that. And then of the rest of the folks on the call, you know, a lot of them are city-based. And so I think that there, in the networking meeting, there's a lot of care providers, and you know, it's Lake Area Senior Services and Servicers, but it's, I don't believe it's not exclusively that. Also, where I would see a possible overlap, and this is just, you know, maybe a seed for a later discussion, is if we were to do a joint educational activity in the White Bear area that Elder Voice was interested in doing in other parts of the state. You know, being, okay, there's statewide, but there's what, like 67 counties in the state, or 87 or whatever it is. It's like, you're not going to be doing, I don't think you're going to be doing county by county, but you know, if there's something that's happening, you know, one in St. Cloud, one in White Bear, you know, one in Minneapolis, one in Rochester, then class could be the one in White Bear. So.
And exactly, and we do have something coming up where that might make sense, and it's a new tool to help residents screen care providers, you know. So but I can also see the really good care providers are going to like it because they look good, you know, but the ones that are having problems, you know, may not, you know. So that's my sensitivity here coming. On one hand, I think having an advocacy group like Elder Voice involved, especially on the board level, really makes a lot of sense to balance, you know, the vision of the elder care community. And I don't mean, and what's always difficult when we're advocating, it sounds a little like we're brushing everybody into this one not very attractive bucket over there. And that's not the case. We're very thankful for the good providers. But we have to make people aware that there are some very subpar operators, and they need to be given tools to help them screen them. And that's part of what we'll be doing. That's kind of the heart of my conflict here, because I really see a needed place for elder voice with class. It's maybe just my you just need to know that, but that there could be a time where we could be clashing with some of your other members. And I don't ever do that in a abrasive manner or anything of that sort. We base all of our positions on what we think are pretty factually based situations. So I didn't mean to get into all of this. I don't know why I did. Just move on. We can kind of ponder on this one later.
Well, going from one set of potentially adversarial things to another, the transportation networking meeting, I came in and started talking about the Purple Line, light rail. If that's okay, Scott, for me to move to the report on that. So I had just come out of a Purple Line Advisory Committee meeting. The Met Council's got a community citizens and business advisory that I'm on. And so I was able to just kind of say, okay, here's 3 options to reroute that the Met Council is looking at due to the White Bear Lake area, or the White Bear City motions on asking the council to stop the project at the border. It turns out that one of those, well, and they are super briefly, go up and turn left to go to Vadnais Heights, go up to Maplewood Mall and stop, or go up to Maplewood Mall, turn right to go to Century College. Some of the Century College routes do actually get into White Bear Lake, but they don't go downtown. And the entire project has not yet dropped the original locally preferred alternative, which is to go into White Bear Lake. I was able to say, hey, if you're interested in supporting that, Micah, or that current White Bear Lake entry, Micah's still interested in that, but not all of class is. I think that we did a pretty good job of saying, here's an issue, it has impacts. Some people within class feel some way, some don't. But let's try and have an open discussion on that. And then most of my small group was dealing with like the personal support part. Like Scott was saying, what we wrote the grant for included the how can we hold ourselves in care and lift each other's up in these hard times. And so we didn't, my small group didn't talk too much about the Purple Line, but that's continuing to work. I'll be able to report back to folks on that as that happens as well. We had more people at the networking meeting than we had at the Lunch and Learn. I think that the base of our networking core, which built when we would get 20-25 people at White Bear Lake City Hall, there's still kind of some momentum there. And it's my hope also that for both the Lunch and Learn and the networking meetings, that just getting out, more communication, more detailed communication about what's going on will help boost turnout on that. It's also possible that what I see in congregational settings is that quote summertime, unquote, whatever that might be, people kind of tend to do a lot of other things, and now we're moving out of that into the regular realm. So any other comments or questions about the last networking meeting?
John, I was gonna mention that Ally and I were on before most of you got on. We were just carrying on a brief conversation, and it was talking about how moving forward, it's gonna be important to kind of have a little detailed approach to both lunch and learn as well as the network marketing, and that is we'll get the invite out early on. It could be a month in advance. We're gonna have a tickler reminder a week before, another tickler reminder the Monday of the Wednesday networking or lunch and learn, and then the morning of as another tickler. Because if people are not getting it put to their calendar, it may not come up as a reminder. So maybe they'll look at an email and go, oh gosh, that's right, I forgot about that. So
Yep.
we just simply as a class board need to come up with that plan for, if this is how we're doing our events right now, we can't fall short of doing them correctly and having more and more marketing and reminders, because that's what we're asking to help cover the grant funding for. So we have to have that type of help and assistance to pull off 15, 20, 25 people attending each of these events moving forward.
Absolutely. Good. The next item on the agenda that I'm seeing is, hey, even though she's not here, our secretary is also our contractor, Kate. We continue at the executive team member and here to be aware of that she's wearing both hats and have clear boundaries around that. The next item on the agenda is, hey, Julia and I are hoping to get people to come to our meetings. Julia, if you're there and available, we have had on our continuing agenda to get folks to attend the Ramsey County age-friendly meetings and report back. Are there, pardon my, I've been away, memory lapses. That's what it is. It's not my advancing in age myself at all. But have you rescheduled or restructured some of your meetings, or are they, what's your timeline? Are you still looking for somebody from class?
Yes, we are definitely still looking for folks, because the more people in the county, the better. And the more representation we have in the county, you know, we are pretty heavily focused on the city, and that's not my deal. I need to be county focused. County, have to spread my wealth in the county. And so we have completed the first year, which was building the team. We continue to do that. The second year was creating the current state assessment, and this will be repetition for some of you. And we have that. Blue Cross Blue Shield paid for an intern, and so we have, here's what is in the biggest issues for Ramsey County seniors, no surprises there: transportation, housing, and social connection. And so this next step is going to creating community design sessions. So taking this to communities and saying, here's the things you told us you want. We're not going to ask again. They've told us over and over again. Here's the thing you said you want. What's going on in your community that's working? And who wants to be involved in all of this process? So that's where we are. I just had a conversation with Lydia Morgan, who is an age-friendly consultant, about designing those, developing the questions for those community design sessions, and also facilitating them. She has a tremendous amount of experience in age-friendly. That's her gig. So that's where we are. I think we'll meet again. We created a communication committee subgroup, and the equity subgroup is working to develop something that they we'll see as that the team could use as a lens through which to make our decisions so that we make sure they're all equitable. And that's what's happening. Does that answer your question, John?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for me, and my apologies because I'm trying to grab links out of one website and into another. MICA has regular second Tuesday meetings at 8 a.m. And more importantly, the MICA Affordable Housing Northeast Virtual Bus Tour is going to be this October 12th, so coming down in 9 days. I have just dropped the link in the chat zone. We are going to be virtually traversing the county from the settled new sacred settlement that's opening up at St. Paul Mosaic to talking about Beacon and East Metro Place are opening a new building. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in Washington County as well. So that is a 90-minute quote tour unquote, and we'll be doing that as well. So that is, I guess, the pitch on that. I will get that into, when does our networking event email go out? And apologies for not knowing the timing on that one.
I have yet to send out the October one because we didn't have anything to put in it.
I got something in it. All right. I will get that to you probably early tomorrow. Is that all right, Katie? Okay.
Yep.
Early Tuesday. All right.
And Katie,
All right.
are you automatically adding lunch and learn event announcements and networking meeting announcements?
Yeah,
Just
I've been
ongoing.
checking the class website, so anything we have on our upcoming event stuff for that month, or if there's stuff that's really early in the month too, like if there was something, November 1st, I can put it in the October one or whatever, so.
Good.
All right.
When was the last time that we had, just as a class board, that we remembered that we had a reminder about what this newsletter is all about? I mean, I know that Katie is sending it out, but what's been the most recent where we've said, hey, this is the new service we have to you members, but we're not getting as much response. And maybe it's because there's just not as much to announce. I don't know, but
I can't remember if it was before, might have been August. We had sent something out just to the member list of here's the Jot form link and remember to send us your stuff. Yeah, I don't know how much what's the line between being annoying and telling everybody that this exists and being a helpful reminder. So we haven't gotten anything.
yeah, all we can do is keep trying, Katie, right? Yeah, appreciate your efforts on that. Absolutely.
All right. I think then the next item should be our treasurer's report. Michelle is our treasurer, and I see bank funds and financial report.
Can I jump in here for a second? I'm sorry. I'm having tons of technical difficulties. And maybe you all have done this. I have a vague memory, but have you all sent out a survey to folks that are on the mailing list to find out what would bring them to the meeting? What they want and what would be helpful to them?
I don't think we have.
I don't think we've done it per se, but I think every time we've had a networking meeting, we have certainly asked that question and responded to some of the suggestions at least. But
Right,
Julie,
but those are
you
the
bring up-
people
you
that
bring up
are
a good
there and want
point.
to be there. I'm talking about reaching out to the people that aren't showing up.
Mhm.
So,
Julia, could you and I just have a little email chain or quick conversation about what that might look like?
sure.
Okay. I will follow up with you on that. Grand. Michelle,
Hello. Let's see. So right now, our balance for the bank statement is at $1,200 and roughly $50. We don't have a lot of expenses. Oh, hello?
yeah, I
Can
hear
you
you.
hear? Okay. We are still in our odyssey with US Bank, trying to get our bank account straightened up. As Scott kind of mentioned in the very beginning, he and I will be meeting with US Bank and figuring out what's going with both our account and our cards, and as well as getting access to our membership funds in Wix, or is it Stripe? I forget which one it is. So that's still going. The only other thing I've been doing is, previous to me, all of our financial statements were in Word docs. So I am now finally having a chance to transfer them over into Google spreadsheets, so we can have updated forms and updated financials on the fly when we need them, instead of going through old Word documents and trying to figure out what's going on.
That sounds eminently useful and a good step forward.
It is a huge step forward, and it was far more cumbersome than I thought, which was nobody's fault. It was just nature of the beast. But I think when we get it all figured out, it'll be really good. There's some weird things going on in the account at the same time that I'm trying to figure out. That's just too complicated, and I'll figure it out and let y'all know when it's fixed.
All right. So, anything else from the treasurer? Nope. She's gone mute. That's a clear decided.
Someone's walked up.
Okay. So we don't have Kate here to do the secretary's report. Scott, did you guys talk?
Well, she was on the call on Friday and Michelle, did you recall that she mentioned she was going to send something for somebody to report on?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't either. So I think the best that we can have to talk about with Kate's position now is just the different things on the website development, what's being added there. The notes that are taken at each of these events that get recorded, she does upload them from a board meeting to the networking to the lunch and learn. So that is at least getting posted, and that is the time that she's spending on that. So that's the contractor role. The secretary role, what we had discussed a previous meeting, was getting things put together as we approach the end of the year. Our last board meeting is December 5th. And at that time, John, you and I are going to have to look at this, but it's going to be looking at elections for 2023. And we need all the help we can get to maintain our board and, find out if we've got people who are going to continue in this position. We hope that that's the case, at least for another year. It always becomes that tenuous time where we stand here and we say, who's interested, take one step forward, and we have enough people who take one step backwards and there's somebody left hanging. And I mean it in only a funny way. I don't take it personal. I don't mean it that way, but that's just the nature of the beast on these kind of board positions where we all have very full plates of everything else going on. But we'd like to see some new blood in here, some additional blood, some of the people who came and got involved this year. We hope that you stay. We really do. But part of the secretary is getting things put together for when we have our elections coming up. And John and I, you and Kate and I will have to talk about what that looks like.
Scott, what, I don't recall, what happened to the AARP person? Did she leave that position?
She's no longer with AARP, and for the longest time, and I'm saying, it was months before we got word that she had left there. We kept trying to reach out via text, via email, was not getting a response. And finally, there was an email response, a bounce back stating she's no longer with AARP. But I have not had a live conversation. I don't know if you have, John, or not, but I don't know. And maybe Julia or Diane, were you fairly close with Elise to know
I-
where she is now ventured off to and the wonderful good that she's
I
doing?
thought
elsewhere?
so. Apparently not, but Diane found her on LinkedIn. Diane,
Did
you want
find
to
her?
share that?
I did find her. She's actually at St. Catherine University working on public policy there.
Oh, okay.
So Jay Hoppola there is the only person I know who he was working with the other, not the Metro. She was based in the Metro and he was working outside. So he might be a good person to reach and find out what's going on. If I had, I'll, at some point, I'll send him an email when I'm able to access my computer.
For those of you who hadn't heard, Julia is back to her regular office for the first time and having all sorts of fun getting acclimated after, what, 2.5 years of doing everything from home?
Yeah, my computer will not connect to the wireless, the Ramsey County wireless, will not connect. So, that's not a good thing, but I'm gonna call IT when we get off the meeting. So,
Julia, that's a sign that you're really just supposed to be working from home still.
yes, and yes, so I don't know if everybody else heard this. The first time I went back into the office after all of these years was the day after Labor Day. And then that was a Tuesday. And then on Sunday, I got a note saying, you should probably go get tested because you were in close contact. Like, this is why I don't want to go to the work. This is why I don't go to the office. It's all fine. Everything's fine. I tested negative, but it's weird and it's scary.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We got to do what we got to do.
Well, stay safe, stay healthy there.
Thank you.
The last part I'll mention about with Kate is that she does on this report and on the website have a link to the board meeting minutes from a secretarial standpoint. So feel free to visit that link and follow up with whatever info you can gather from those meetings.
All right. So I believe we move now to old business, action items for discussion, new business, action items for discussion. The old business, we have both the upcoming networking and lunch and learns, networking on November 9th, Georgia Afton. And actually Georgia and I are having a conversation tomorrow, so we might find out more about that. But coming up much quicker is the October 12th dementia-friendly lunch and learn with Lynn Ammon. Lynn has sent out a couple of emails. She and her people have a program. She wanted to make sure that there would be audience for the program. And we've touched on, as Scott, as you'd said, we touched on how to have a system to get folks to show up. Do you want to say more about that?
No, I think what we do for the networking, John, we'll share with you as to what you would like to do for the lunch and learns. I have got Allie who's helping me with that for the networking. And is it, Katie, are you working with John on lunch and learns for those kind of things? Or I don't know, you can, John, you tell me.
I think we have. I think we
Okay.
did it a while ago.
Well, then maybe this is a good, I'm sorry to interrupt, John.
Oh, no. Basically, we just need to get a blurb out. Specifically, Lynn has like said, here's how we're going to be discussing it. And I was impressed by her program. So now if we can just get that and send it out in a couple of places. So once again, I'll be getting an early tomorrow. I'll also get reword her blurb so we can get that out for the 12th as well. And then Katie, I can can we continue to work together to get that out?
For sure, yeah, when I put in any of our class stuff, usually I'm just kind of making a best guess at what I should put in for any of the statements about what's coming up. So if Lynn has something ready for what she wants to tell people to expect, that would be great.
Yep, good.
So John, I don't know if this fits in for this time, but I think let's just, we'll buzz the tower here for people to be thinking about 2023. We don't need an answer right now, but we can have discussion. Do you feel that we had an appropriate amount of networking meetings, lunch and learn meetings, and obviously our board meetings are going to stay the same with that? Anything that we want to change with that, but moving forward, if we go with that plan, let's have a discussion and have the team feel comfortable with how we do wish to put out reminders prior to these meetings. So what will happen is the executive team will meet and we'll talk about 2023. We'd love some input before that happens, but so within the next month, we will identify the 6 bi-monthly networking, the 4 quarterly lunch and learn, and then the 6 board meetings. We'll have dates set for that. We'll set up on Zoom all the links that are connected for those dates, and we'll have that published on our website. So once that gets determined, then from there, I'd like to have discussion. What does this team feel is adequate and appropriate for having reminders going out, and when? And what kind of format would we like with that to really start growing that attendance level?
Can I ask a quick question? How many board meetings do we need to have a year?
Nonprofit law usually says 1. It has to be the annual meeting. Officers need to be elected, and I think the budget needs to get approved.
But we do need monthly financial statements on record that if we're ever questioned about, what went on, we have that to report. Michelle, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just, thinking about, the lack of attendance, and I'm just wondering if with all the meetings, if the 6 board meetings is just a stress on everyone. Is there enough happening still that we could go down to 5 or 4?
I have an opinion.
Legally, yes. Scott,
Yes.
what's your opinion?
My personal opinion, and that this is not from a legal standpoint, is we look at it that are people struggling to get to meetings? The answer could be yes. But I also feel as soon as we go down to maybe 4 meetings or less, where do we have the involvement from the board that stays active and keeps some of these topics front facing here?
Sure.
We still struggle with trying to have all needs met and enough board members involved, and I get that part. But for us to have good conversation on a board meeting about what we want to do next, if instead of every 2 months, it's going to be every 3 months or maybe 3 times a year, whatever that number is, I feel that we're going to really lose focus in any momentum that we may have. Again, just my opinion.
Yeah, I almost wonder with, I think we're always going to have people who don't want to do virtual meetings anymore. And if that's mostly what we're able to do, if we are, instead of having a separate networking and lunch and learn schedule, if those are kind of a combined effort and we have fewer meetings of the whole network, then maybe people will make a point to come to the ones that we have.
Yeah, maybe make sure the board meetings are really concise and functional, no sidebarring or, going on long topics and getting it all done at once.
How does everyone feel about how the board meetings have gone this year so far and what we talk about and report?
This is Diane, I think the board meetings have been actually really good. One reason we may not have a lot of folks participating in board meetings is, and Julia can attest to this, is that when I got my first invitation, it's like, so am I on the board? She's like, no, we're like those, liaisons from these things, like, oh, okay. That board meeting feels exclusive. It feels like those are the folks who are leading things, and unless we explicitly invite people and say, hey, these are open, if you're interested in adding to our leadership, even on an occasional basis or on a topic basis, here's what the agenda is, you're welcome to come. People aren't going to come because they don't want to butt in where they're not, invited.
And John, I'm trying to recall, have we intentionally not had board meetings opened up to anyone who wishes to join?
No. Commonly open meeting, Minnesota open meeting law does not directly apply to nonprofits, but it does kind of set a tone. And I think that I don't think that there's been a single item that class has dealt with in my time that anybody was like, oh, we got to shut this down and have a private meeting about it. But what if I am hearing correctly, what Diane was saying is that a board meeting is kind of a hard sell for a casual attendee. But it's also good that we record these. And is this going to get put up on our website? Are our board meetings routinely put up?
Yes.
So it's good for transparency as well.
Right.
Julia Wolf looks perplexed and has her mic live.
Sorry. When I need it on, I forget to turn it on, and when I need it off, I turn it off. I'm fine. I just got a very perplexing email, but that's okay.
Okay. Got it.
John, I would say to Michelle's point of board meetings to me are like the business side of things, and there's the line of, we want people to help us do things, but the board meeting should be kind of a swift situation. So if we have people kind of coming in and out, then half of our meeting is dedicated to catching people up on what's going on. And I don't know what the line is of, we want to invite people in and join in what we're doing so that they can be helpful, but also the board meetings have a purpose beyond what the networking meetings are.
I see Julia's hand.
Yeah, this is a great conversation, and I don't, have any silver bullet. One of the things that I have found with the Age Friendly group is that people used to just volunteer and stay volunteers, right, for the rest of their lives or for many years. And that's not how the world works anymore. But if you can say, hey, we need this done, right? All of the work groups for the Age Friendly stuff are time limited, and we're very clear about what the team needs them to do. So that's one option. Is to not necessarily, you want board members, but you also need people doing things. And maybe you can just say, here, we need this done. Can you do this?
And you know what, Julia, that's a great point. I feel that even in our networking meetings, as we're inviting people, we have asked for that. We ask for it at every board meeting. When we were meeting live prior to COVID, class had committees and we had things going on, and we had committees that were responsible for reporting at our board meetings, and we had that activity. Now what we've got going on is no events except for networking and the lunch and learns. So what makes it difficult is we have a board, but we also want to find who's willing to step up and be a part of helping us make all of these things we're currently doing that much more vibrant. And you know, I'm working with Ally on networking and John's working with Katie on lunch and learns. And kind of beyond that, that's all we have. And then Kate is busy with both of them, you know, doing editing and such. You know, Michelle has got her time with the financial piece of it. So as we continue to fill our board, and we're going to need more board members now that we lost Elise, Lynn is gone today, Kate is gone today. That's where these discussions come into play to say, what will be our decision for 2023? What do we want to do, and do it really well, whatever's decided on? And that is why I'm currently feeling very strongly about, because we're not meeting with a lot of different committees, I don't believe we can afford to have that many less times together, because quite honestly, today would be the meeting where we say, who's going to be on the board next year, who's going to go recruit for vacant positions, and then we won't be meeting again until January.
I'm assuming that there is a job description for board members,
Yes.
and I haven't seen it. So take this with a huge grain of salt, like a whole beach full of salt. That does it include what you just told me about? We're looking for people to help class be more vibrant, right? There needs, well, like I said, I don't know what the job description looks like. So you all have probably done this, but to say, here's what we're looking for in people, not just here's the job description, but here's why we want you to be on the board, right? The why behind it, not just the how.
Right. At the beginning of the year, Julia, I think everybody on this call was sent out a packet from Kate that had all of that included. It was electronic. If you don't have that, we can get that sent to you, but I believe that was sent out with descriptions of all board positions. And what else was in there, John? It was a pretty big packet of electronic
Yeah, bylaws and
class stuff.
historic stuff about the organization and things like that. And also as well, so first off, I'm going to say that I'm willing to at least be a co-president for another year if we can get anybody else to do that. I said I can give you a year, I can give you another year. That it's conversations as well. So Julia is, I think, saying, hey, does our, and correct, this is what I'm hearing, Julia, I'm just trying to mirror back. Does our job description act as a way to show people where they can fit and how they can be a part of this? And is it kind of a, a brochure, a selling points for board involvement a little bit? And yeah, I think it might be, I see that Katie has just put organizational roles in as a downloadable Word document in the chat. So yeah, how to.
Yeah, so yes, you're right on track. So what I'm talking about is not is a brochure, is something that will bring people onto the team, right? You would never want to send all of that data, all that stuff, all that material to someone who's right. I mean, right. So what is there and how is it written to draw people in? Like I said, there's all that data, there's all that explanation, but why do we want people on the board? Because they're going to bring vibrancy and they're going to help us move forward and they're going to help us envision what we could do. And that needs to be part of the, I think that needs to be part of the piece or information that I'm talking about. Does that make sense, Scott?
Oh, it does. And just to kind of bring everyone up to speed, again, we haven't talked about it often, but Lynn Ammon last year she was heading up the committee for doing just that. And so as she was doing reach out, it's what attracted Elise Ruiz. It's what attracted, I believe, Ally came aboard by talking with Lynn. Is that correct, Ally?
Unfortunately, it was all Katie Everett's fault.
Oh, okay. But, all right, so then I'll ask Katie. Katie was part of that due to how Lynn had shared vision and kind of a recruiting style, or am I way off here? Because I know that Lynn was reporting back and doing some heavy recruiting with exactly what you were talking about, Julia, which I think is important.
Yeah, I think where we've been most successful is the personal connections that we have. You know, like we've noticed somebody comes to network meetings and they've like mentioned maybe there's some sort of interest in being more involved, and then just Lynn did a lot of work contacting people and following up with people, and there's just a lot of people might mention something and we have to make them kind of commit to that next step of it. But
Well, it's also interesting. We had a gentleman who attended one of our networking meetings as a service provider, somewhat new to the industry, loved the networking meeting, I think he was on one Lunch and Learn, said this is really different. He really appreciated the opportunity to talk, wanted to get more involved. He calls me up and with Kate's help, Kate Goebel, her and I and Kate's husband went and met this guy, and actually I paid for some beverages after hours out of my pocket. It wasn't anything on a class bill. And he was just gaga over this. He goes, let me know how I can help. I want to get involved. I want to be on the board. So we had this personal connection. It's been crickets ever since. And he's not answering. And there was all of this excitement that we left that meeting with. And well, who knows, maybe he had a few too many to drink and it all sounded good at that time. But no, I shouldn't say it that way, but that wasn't the case. It was a great meeting. And those are the kind of things, to Katie's point, having that personal touch and being able to walk somebody through what it is all about and what our mission and vision is.
Yeah, and I just think that not being face to face makes it harder.
Yep.
And also that for every 3 of those you have, Scott, and so just temper your bar spending on that acknowledgement. You'll have 1 hit for every 3 strong nibbles you get.
Right.
Just
No,
right.
I realize that.
Roughly and vaguely.
I thought I had landed the big whale though. You know,
I see Christine. Chris,
Yeah, a question, do all of you feel that this is a part of your day job to be a part of this? This is, you know, in other words, your organizations are getting something in return for your participation, right?
I do.
I would think everybody has to. And I'm not sure that aspect is really kind of recognized enough. I don't know. But now I'm asking myself, well, how do we accommodate that?
Well, I can only speak for Ramsey County, but
Yeah.
Ramsey made a commitment that if people attend who are not being paid for their time, we give them a $25 gift card. That, you know, I don't know how useful that is, but that's what the county has committed to do. So
Explain that more, Julia. So what about that?
So if people attend the Age Friendly and Equity Alliance, or
Okay.
yeah, if they attend that meeting, if they're part of that meeting, each meeting, I can give them a $25 gift certificate so that they are paid for being there like we would be paid for being there.
So that kind of meets the goals of Ramsey County then.
Yep.
Yep, gotcha. Yep.
and Chris, I do think another part of it is, for a lot of us, we do get some things in return, but part of it is our give back to our industry a little bit too.
Sure.
You know, in the small or big ways that we see fit to do that. Hard to measure that, but I think it's important that as we support service providers as a whole, and we are all, to a certain degree, one of those, we are service providers in a sense.
Yep.
That this is a give back that perpetuates class.
So I'm looking at the time. Theoretically, we can go 90 minutes and we've gone about 670. Somebody was asking about, or Michelle was saying, how are we doing on going boom, boom, boom on agendas and not going on sidebars? I feel that the class board meetings are relatively good at sticking on agendas. Particularly if we eventually, every so often pop our heads up and say, oh, hey, what is on the agenda? What else do we have to talk about? I think that part of our discussion has been, how do we recruit? Where are we at in terms of recruiting, which is necessary and not necessarily as much on our agenda. The other things that we've got are grants and grant writing, which I feel we've talked about. We've got, it says White Bear Lake, Vadnais and others. We got one, we missed the other, and we've had some more discussion on that. We have generally done board member check-ins, and then we have the discussion about expanding to other counties. And can or should we expand to cover other counties in our work? Scott, you briefly mentioned that. And Micah's chapter involves both Ramsey and Washington counties. Can we talk about that for a little bit? And then end the meeting with brief kind of 2-minute check-ins from all the board members?
Mhm.
Does that sound good?
John, I have a quick question. I'm looking at the agenda.
Yes,
There is a question mark after Georgia Afton's name. Was there anything that, were we supposed to like approve having her come in, or?
We'll need to do some follow-up, but Georgia and I talked, and I don't know if the question mark was about whether she's doing it or who she's with, and she's actually with an organization called Friends and Co, as in company. And that is where is it Little Sisters, John?
Little Brothers
Little Brothers,
became,
that it used to be, and now it's a new name. And her and I just talked about a week ago. So yes, I believe that she wants to do that. So if we want, Katie, if you and I want to touch base, or, we can talk about what that is with Georgia.
Sounds good.
good eyes, Katie. So for me, expanding to Washington County in classes work is as easy as falling off a log. Does anybody else have thoughts? A lot of you here are kind of city-based.
I think this came up because I was originally in New Brighton and I was part of Ramsey County. And so I felt like I was connected with everybody because I felt like majority of us were representing Ramsey County. And now that I'm here in Lino Lakes, I'm actually in Anoka County, which is fine with me in my head. But at the same point, like I started to look at things and say, what about like our public health with Anoka County? Like, what are some of our connections in Anoka County? And I don't know who it is. Somebody has said several times that they're building a brand new facility closer here in Hugo or something, so that they would then be part of more, you know what I mean, another county. And so what is our boundaries, you know? And then I say, should I be part of this group? I mean, I want to be a part of this group, but what are we looking at as far as some of that goes? Should we be inviting other people to be a part of it? Or do we want this just to be a small group?
Allie, to answer your first question, it is Ling Bloomston that's got a new facility, a new building in Lino Lakes opening up soon. So Lynn would be able to answer more questions on that. You know, what's been interesting, and just cut me off if I'm talking too much, but I'm wanting to give information based on some background as well. When this started with just the lakes area, it expanded kind of through osmosis, nothing that was really intentional to take it to another county. It's just kind of slowly expanded as the news has gotten out. So we don't have boundaries. We invite anyone who has senior service provider relationships and would like to be a part of this. And if it includes Anoka and Dakota and Hennepin, so be it, if we have people that are willing to be part of it here. We're not looking to exclude And it doesn't mean that we have to have a major ambition for all of those counties. I think it just means that we have representation from a number of those counties.
Edie, did you have something?
No, I mean, I think it, as much as a member who's from, Northwest Anoka finds it relevant to their work to be part of it, come on over.
Michelle?
Yeah, I think, even though we really do the White Bear Lake area, it's always useful for us in our programming to hear what others are doing. So we can either start it or invite them in. So I think it's useful.
So then I say, do we have some sort of information other than a simple email that says, come join our group? To be able to, as Michelle laughs at me, that, simply is trying to entice them and kind of explains a little bit more of what we are. I'm just thinking of like, I don't know, Julie, if you know who the public health person is in Anoka County, but, sending them more of an invite or, some of those other people that might be interested in being part of our group. I mean, how I joined this group was seriously, Katie shot me an email one day and was like, I really think you should come to a meeting. And I was like, girl, I got enough on my plate. And she's like, no, really, you need to come. Like, I think you'd benefit from it. And I was like, all right, okay. And I happened to just be free one morning. So I thought I'd jump on to see what the heck it was. And now I'm here. So obviously she was I don't want to say a thorn in my side, but my point is that like, do we reach out, and how are we reaching out, and who else should we be reaching out to expand that a little bit? If we expand, will that though also make some of our membership stuff a little easier, because we will have more people to draw in for some of our board activities and that kind of stuff? Does that make sense?
And I think that goes back to, if we call them board meetings, I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable jumping in on someone's board meeting. Maybe we need to market it a little different.
Well, and again, just to kind of talk about in all of our lunch and learns and our networking meetings, we talk about our board. We talk about, there's call it a soft plug or a hard plug. We want you to be involved if you're here for the first time. And love to hear more about what a board position might look like. Please reach out. We'd love to share a little bit of time with you. So we do that soft sell on all of those events. I don't think we've gone with an event in the last year or two where we haven't done that. So I don't know as if the first invite, kind of as Diane was talking about, is to get somebody to a board meeting as much as it would be getting to a networking meeting or a lunch and learn meeting, have them sense that, and then we could maybe feel whether that person would be open to more suggestions to go deeper. Does that
Do you
make
think
sense?
that frightens people, asking them if they want to be a board meeting or to attend a board meeting? I mean, we're all involved in a million things.
Yeah.
Yes. If Katie were to invite me to a board meeting, I would have said no, flat out. I'm part of another committee. I mean, I'm part of like an organization that's on the side, and we have board meetings, and only those that are on the board attend. So I personally, I would be. What all, and this is me, just my wheels are turning.
Mhm.
What all is in our contract with Kate to do as far as like marketing goes? Like, is she able to like do like a really cute, I'm gonna say cute because that's just me, like flyer of some sort that we can email out to other people that we know that says, hey, come join our group, check out our website, here's where all the information is on what we've got upcoming, especially looking forward going into 2023?
Great question. And oh, Chris, you look like you were gonna
One thing Kate does for us is social media. And that's a pretty cost-effective way to reach a broader audience. And that might work to, work with Kate, maybe perhaps, you know, an upcoming lunch and learn. It maybe, does class have a presence on any social media now?
John, I don't think we do anything that's getting contributed regularly, other than if we have a Facebook, I think that there's postings for the different events that we've had, networking and lunch and learn.
Yeah,
But Kate is not, she was not brought aboard to do so much of the creative as much as the dispersing of creative that may get developed. So she is going to be that vehicle that once it's all got lipstick on it and ready to send out, not that she wouldn't be willing to help, but we also want to be careful that at $40 an hour,
Yeah.
if this falls on her plate and she's charging us for that, we would expect her to do that. But if this is something that a committee member or a board member would spend time with, then Kate would do the sending out type of thing, which is what her job really is.
and it really takes, and I'm not one of those social media experts by any means. And Kate's got the rudiments. I don't mean that at all. She would say that as well. You know, maybe you need to target a social media expert to get involved with class. They can really be helpful. You know, which ones really make sense? What, you know.
Do you know of any, Chris, that would be willing?
Well, I'm just starting to do that searching for elder voice. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, you know, what I did is posted on the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits and for a social media expert, maybe not as a job, but as a, you know, a social media person might view that as an opportunity to grow some awareness about their services with all of your members, and maybe would see that as, okay, I'll help you, the organization, pro bono, with the hope that that'll attract business. I don't know.
Well,
but-
I think you may be onto something. I just don't know of anyone personally. So if we had other people that did, that would be great.
Well, I got tons of response, but we're paying too, so that's a big difference.
So that there again, as Ally was talking about earlier and John was talking about, that's the relationship building. That's not the, hey, I see that you have a website and you're a designer. Would you mind coming and doing pro bono work for us? That is a conversation that happens. much
Yeah,
later
and
on,
we
I
wouldn't
think,
have, I wouldn't put it in that manner.
so I-
You know,
I'm kind
Yeah.
of being silly when I
Well,
say it.
the artists that I know are very wary of, this will give you exposure.
Yeah.
They work. They don't need exposure, they need money. But that's just some of the artists I know have been like, no,
Well-
I'm working, you need to pay me.
yeah, and each one is kind of different, and the young ones are building their business. And they know they've got to kind of give a little to get a little, I guess. So it may not work. I might be just talking. I'm just trying to help.
And just so you know, Kate has done some of that for us and not billed us. She's
Okay,
willing to, you know, if something is taking 2.5 hours, she's billing us for 2. So she's already putting some back to us that,
yeah.
you know, as a board member as well, she's not just a contractor. She's willing to put in some of that work.
And she's been great with us as far
Yeah.
as this concerns too, because every nonprofit is watching their money. Yeah.
Ally, you bring up some really good points, and I'm glad you're asking it because I think it's very useful for our team to hear those kind of suggestions and ideas. And we want more of that. We encourage that. So thank you for bringing some of those things up.
I am not sure if I'm making this up or not, but I feel like at some point class had like a trifold brochure or something. I don't know where that would be, but if that's something, I mean, maybe a not starting from scratch point to kind of sell class. I have no idea if I maybe even have a paper copy we could scan in somewhere if we don't have that file anymore, but I think that
No.
I remember seeing something like that.
I know we had postcards.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we had them too. We had a number of marketing materials. I'm thinking of meetings at the church that Ling Lumsden was at, in that meeting room, passing around those kind of things.
Yeah,
So-
I think from the days where class had tables at other events and things, we had stuff to hand out.
Yeah,
So those materials might be a place to start too. I would guess that it would need to be updated by now, but
Well, I see 7 minutes and there's 8 of us. If we all want to have a minute to check in on on any topic of anything, then we could get out in only a minute left. So I'll start. I went on a 15-day vacation with my sweetie. I went on a Greek island cruise. I took tons of photos, ate a ton of food. I actually got a bit of a tan. And I'm happy to be back, but I'm kind of like, oh, work, what the heck is that? But this is my first meeting since I'm back, and it was a wonderful place to be. So that's me. Check. Anybody just speak right up, or I'll start calling in people.
I can go. We have kind of come out of summer and are transitioning into our fall programming and events. And up next for us, we have our Scarecrow Trail and Halloween party. So we have this year, I'm upping the ante a little bit for Scarecrow. So we've got some more prizes. So Scarecrows will be up from October 27th through November 2nd, and our community Halloween party, free to attend. Everyone's welcome. Community Park, Friday, October 28th, 5 to 7.
Great. Next.
I'll go. Other than just trying to keep our head above water over here between senior memberships that are starting to take off, which is fantastic in this area. Keeping everyone healthy and young, and then trying to do our fall programming and getting winter and spring and summer programming up and going, or shall I say trying to plan it all. Other than that, we've just had a lot on my family side of things. Colby turned 3. My father-in-law is battling cancer again. It's just, we have a brand new baby that we just found out. I'm going to be an auntie again. So it's just, there's a lot going on in our side of things, but I'm happy, to be honest with you guys. This group is always a sense of calming for me to come to our meetings. I feel like I am heard, number one, which sounds really silly. But as part of number 2, I feel like we are all part of the same community, and that's what I enjoy. And so even more when I talk about inviting others in, to me, it's a sense of community, because like when Michelle talks about White Bear, I can envision what she's saying about White Bear. And so that to me is what is a good part. So I'm glad to be here today.
Great. Next.
I'll go next. This is Diane. Nothing too much from Trellis. We're still doing the slow coming back into the office thing and such. I'm going on a short vacation next week down to Savannah. Never been there, but it was one of those, a bigger plan got put off till April, but it was like, I gotta get out of Dodge for a little bit. So we'll do that and such. Just kind of keep in mind, January, February will be big grant proposal RFP time. The state's going to have like 3 of them coming out. So there will be age-friendly, dementia awareness, plus their live well at home, all within the same period of time. So we're really encouraging folks to start thinking ahead. Otherwise, people are going to be really overwhelmed.
All right. Michelle, you looked like you were almost ready. There you go.
Yeah, it's me and this mute button seem to have disagreements a lot. So am I just supposed to update on what we're doing?
Or how you're doing.
Oh, I'm super busy because like nobody else is. I've taken on a new role here at work this year where I'm doing most of the marketing for our department as well. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for me to remember and figure out how to do all that and get it done successfully and convince everyone I'm super creative. But then there's the non-boring stuff. So I have been working diligently on updating our senior services guide, which has been crazy. So much has changed and so much has gone away over COVID. So I think we're in the final draft stage. And once we're done with that, we will start updating our housing guide as well, which will also be a really big job. But those two documents, I bet you 5, 6, 7 of them leave our building every day. So they're definitely needed and wanted in the community. Other than that, you know, I can't remember who said it, Allie, I think, that we are busy planning for winter and spring and there is no rest, which is all good.
Michelle, those publications always impress me. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
All right,
It's like, they're like our Bible here.
Scott, Julia, or Chris?
Go ahead, Chris.
Just coughing there, sorry. I kind of implied this, we're finalizing a new capability it'll be an online app that people can use to help them screen senior care providers, and that would be nursing homes, assisted living, and home health care agencies. And it's different than what most others are, in that it is focused on the quality of the care given, the track record of these providers. And we're using state databases, so it's all public data, but it's very difficult for the typical person to, first of all, would they even know it? And then if they do know it, accessing it is pretty clunky. So we've gotten funding to do that, and we'll be launching that probably in a couple months, I'm thinking. And Michelle, when you mentioned your senior services guide, I hadn't really thought of that, but I should be reaching out to folks once this is live. This would be a resource that we'd love to have, you know, listed in guides like that. So, and when that comes, you know, when we're ready to go, I don't know if that might be something a lunch and learn might be appropriate for. I don't know.
Right.
And then the other thing, so that'll be a totally different organization, but the elder voice, then there'll be the legislative session. So there's, you know, preparation starting to happen on that front. And you know, to be honest, I'm not too enthusiastic about working on that yet until after the elections, because that just could change the whole landscape so much. So
Yep.
That'll be more of a later issue.
All right. Julia?
Well, I shared my update before. There's not much more. Things are humming along with Age Friendly, and the network meeting is going great. We had Community Stabilization Project come last time and talk about their services, and I think Senior Linkage Line is coming next month. And people seem to feel great about it. And I think I mentioned last time that the Somali Healthy Aging mini conference has been postponed. We ran into some technical issues, some planning issues. They weren't technical, some planning issues. And so we're going to be planning that for April. Ramadan goes from mid-March to mid-April. So that was out. And before that, the weather's not great. So we're looking at April 26th, I think, whatever the Wednesday is, the last week of April. And yeah, one of the great things about that is that we want to serve East African food. So we are going to eat at several East African restaurants that cater. So we can figure out who we want to hire to cater it. And M Health has offered the old St. Joe's as a place to do that. So once that is planned and all that, I will send out the email to y'all. I don't know if you have any Somali folks in your communities, but I'll send it out.
All right. Scott,
And you're connected to your computer. Congratulations.
I am. Now, I can't get my phone on.
One
And
at a-
so-
It's all right. It's all right.
so Ellie and Julia should talk about issues, and then I and Michelle are going to talk briefly on this Zoom about another issue after that. But Scott, you can now finish the meeting. Sorry, we're 4 minutes into the next hour.
I'll make
Right.
it pretty quick. You know, transportation here keeps rolling, pardon the pun. The more that our buses are out there, the more that we're getting phone calls from underserved areas that need transportation. So we continue to develop, working hard on several different circulator loops that are in motion. I'm working more and more with a lot of communities, senior centers who need busing, who have had to be ordering coaches in the past, and now they're able to use our buses at a smaller level. So several of them. Katie, you and I can talk a little bit more if you have questions on what we were talking about earlier with that marketing piece or whatever that we want to come up with there. Allie, you and I can talk more about the networking coming up for November. Lastly, I had muscles that I didn't know I had 2 weeks ago, that when I was stacking and cutting and splitting wood, about 2 tons worth at a buddy's cabin. So Monday was not good. And for the record, I'm currently in a love-hate relationship with a Gopher football team and the Vikings.
Is that unusual, Scott?
Is that what?
This is a ringer of a question, but is that unusual, really?
No, it just had to be stated.
It is that time. All right.
That's it.
Thank you all very much. As I said, Michelle, if you can hang on for a little bit. Scott, are you the host on this one?
I am.
All right,
Okay.
y'all, I'm
And-
heading out. Thank you.